His throne, my redemption. Previous episodes are available in playlist, a link is given in the video description. Episode 10. He reached across the table, hand reluctantly covering hers that resided over the cube. You asked me earlier about why I cared if you eat, and though I'm not entirely sure, I know for whatever reason, I like you, and I'm willing to change, for you, if you only allow me to. We started off on the wrong foot, the wrong everything for that matter, but we can start over, can't we? I don't want to be like my dad, I'm going to choose you and let go of Beatrice if I have to. What? I know you heard what I said, Delilah, if I say it again, I might die, so please think about it and give me a chance to redeem myself. Delilah quickly pulled her hand from beneath his and the cube fell in the process, rolling somewhere beneath the table. She didn't pick it up, instead she pushed her chair back and stood to her feet. You must be crazy, scratch that, she laughed. You must be joking. It's better you'd kept that bit to yourself, I thought you were a serious man, Jake, dangerous even, but I guess you are if you can make a joke like that with not even the hint of a smile on your face. Jake clenched his hands against the table, aggressively pushing his chair back and standing to his feet. Don't mock me, Delilah. It took a lot for me to say that, only for you to laugh at my feelings. What? They weren't a joke. She laughed again. They sounded funny, so I thought they were. Delilah, Jake warned. What? Am I supposed to take you serious? Me give you a chance? The skies would have to fall first. You're a madman, you're saying you don't want to be like your father, but what can you do when you're already exactly like him? You locked me up and raped me even though you already have Beatrice, whom you've bonded with, isn't that what he did to your mother? And now I'm sure you're going to try to find a way to force me to accept those stupid feelings you believe you have. Look Jake, I might be an Omega, and I might be weak and stupid, but I'm not stupid enough to willingly give somebody like you a chance to ruin me all over again. I know what I did, you don't have to remind me. I know I've hurt you, countless times, but that's why I told you sorry, and that's why I'm so adamant on changing. I won't ever touch you in that way again unless you want me to, I swear I won't. I'll change, as long as you stay, as long as you become my Luna. Delilah scoffed. Change you say? You know what would convince me that you're truly working towards being a better person? Jake glanced across the room before his angry yet hopeful eyes settled on her. What? Setting me free, actually giving me a chance to choose if I want to stay with you or not. That would prove to me that you really aren't as bad as your father. I can't, that's not something I can do. You'd never come back if I let you go, and I'd fall right back into the waves I'd been drowning in before, because there'd be no one to make me want to change. If that's the case, she walked around the table, walking to a point where he couldn't see her without moving his head back. Then you don't really want to change, Jake, you just want a reason to keep me around. And then she left him there to fume by himself, to break all over again. The food on the table, he swiped everything off, breathing hard and heavy as he lifted his chair to throw it. He didn't, he couldn't. The chair fell from his hand, clattering on the floor beside him, and he fell to his knees beside it, gripping tight to his hair. It was painful, but not painful enough to distract him from the horrendous pain rushing to and from his heart. For the second time in his entire life, he felt helpless. He once again felt like he'd lose something dear to him and there was absolutely nothing he could about it. Jake didn't say a word to Delilah for the rest of the day. He kept himself locked up in his parents' room and she stayed upstairs. The Omegas visited thrice to deliver and clean up the food they both didn't eat, and then when the sun started to hide behind its shadow, Garth came. "You didn't come to the office today." "I was busy, had some things to sort out, and there's barely anything to do there anyway." Neil sent a letter. He finished his mission. He'll be back in 2 days. Well, since a day has already passed. Did he mention if anybody died? No, it was probably a hassle for him to do even that. Lazy bastard only wrote that he completed the mission and will be back in 2 days. What was the sense of even sending it? He sounds like somebody I could just kill, but he probably sent it to let us know he's fine. That rogue pack grew so big, it must have been difficult to take them all down. I didn't send him with a lot of warriors, but I should have. Jake shook his head in disappointment, directed at nobody but himself. Let's hope they don't get so comfortable again. Right, Garth nodded. That was the end of the conversation, and yet Garth didn't make the first move to leave. Jake squinted at him. Anything else you want to say? Garth cleared his throat, suddenly seeming nervous. It's about Beatrice. You forbade her from coming here, so she told me to tell you that if you don't come see her tonight, she'll be coming to see you. What does she want? She didn't tell me. Jake sighed. I avoided her on purpose. If I'd seen her again after finding out what she did, I probably wouldn't be able to stop myself from beating her to death. Who gave her the right to go against me? I should have slammed her head somewhere in the hospital walls. You'd better tell her not to come here, or that punishment I promised her the other day, she'll get it. Go. Garth nodded, bowing his head once before walking out of the bedroom, and Jake waited until the door closed behind him to run his hand through his hair. He took a seat on the bed, his thoughts rushing straight back to Delilah. Her words were still running through his head, still fueling his anger and a heartburn he kept trying his best to extinguish. But the heat kept growing inside of him, awakening a new kind of pain. He didn't know what to do. He'd said what he wanted to her and like always, she took a leap at his pride. Was he really like his father? He wished there was somebody that could tell him he wasn't, but he knew they'd be lying. Reaching beneath the pillow, he pulled out his mother's diary, skipping through the pages until he made it to the last one she wrote on. The note she wrote for him, he reread it, stopping at the word freedom. It was something vital in everyone's life, and yet, he'd taken away hers for his own good. It was a selfish thing to do, but his monsters crawled back into the shadows at the sight of her. She was like a light in his darkness, but what would he do if that light ever were to dull because of his selfishness? His hands twitched as he closed the diary, stuffing it back beneath the pillow. He stood to his feet, walking out the door. His steps lacked confidence, reluctant and slow as he climbed the stairs, and when he stood in front of the room she was in, he was afraid to knock. Fear was a feeling he barely felt, or rather acknowledged, but right now, his heart was thumping in his ears and his blood felt like it was draining. He felt pathetic. She made him feel pathetic. He stood there for what felt like hours before the door opened on its own, revealing her. She was wearing a shorts and a blouse, and the soft scent of soap wafted around her. Goddess! He wanted to hold her. You standing out there is making me more nervous than you just marching in. What do you want? Come out, let's go for a walk. Dawn, please, I have something to say. She swallowed, gripping tight to the hem of her blouse before nodding her head. All right, just let me put on my slippers. She closed the door, and when she came back out, she was wearing the only pair of black slippers she owned here. A breath left Jake's lips as he led the way down the stairs. He hated to admit it, but perhaps she was right. He wanted to change because of her, for her, but how could he call it changing when she didn't even have something such as freedom? He didn't want to take that away from her, since it was the one thing his mother always wished for. The walk was quiet, awkward. He said he had something to say, and yet ever since they left the house, he hadn't even opened his mouth. He seemed to be contemplating something, thinking deeply, and he wasn't looking at her. His deep, dark eyes stared at the woods in wonder, leaving her to awkwardly do the same. His hands were in his pockets, and despite his emotionless features, she could sense a whirlpool of emotions flooding from him, through the bond, the one they meaninglessly shared. Her fingers fumbled with each other as he led her deeper, deeper than she had ever gone by herself. What was he planning? Was this really just a walk or a trip to her death? Either way, she didn't care. Delilah jumped, quickly turning to stare up at him. Yes, she told him she wasn't scared of him anymore, and it was true, but right now, he was making her scared. The difference in his demeanor was one that couldn't hide. His emotions were dark and confusing. She couldn't understand them. They were distorted, just like him. Just like her. Two broken people, how could they ever mend and grow this bond like he wanted? Do you still want to leave? He stopped, turning to face her completely, and it was then she noticed that they were at the edge of his borders. She twisted towards him as well, and yet her eyes didn't meet his as she spoke. Yes, if I let you leave, even if you never come back, will you at least forgive me for all those cruel things I inconsiderately did to you? Her toes wiggled in her slippers, something she did to distract herself from the fast and hard way in which her heart was beating. I don't know. Yet. He laughed. I guess you wouldn't know, mean, who would be able to tell? Delilah shrugged, her throat becoming dry when he stepped closer towards her. She wasn't sure what was happening, she was just scared for some reason, and she figured it was because he was. Those emotions flooding from him, she understood them now, fear, but what could he be afraid of? You told me sorry wouldn't ever undo the things I've done to you, and I know it can't, but I really am sorry. If I could turn back time, I'd do it differently just so you wouldn't hate me as much as you do now. But since you do hate me, since you won't ever forgive me, keeping you here against your will only proceed to hurt not only you, but the both of us more. What was he saying? What was he going to do? Delilah's eyes widened when his arms hugged around her. His warmth caved her, and suddenly the fast beat of her heart steadied and then slowed. So I'll let you go, for the sake of us both. Goodbye, Delilah. Her heart stopped. It literally did, for a second, for two, for three, and then it started pounding again, heavy and fast. What? He pulled back, looking at her with eyes that were undoubtedly sad. I said you were free, you can leave, and whether you want to come back or not, it is your choice. Was this some sort of trick? No, it wasn't, that look in his eyes said it wasn't, he was serious. The monster hiding in its father's cage had finally found the guts to come out. Delilah looked away from him and at the white line that marked the very end of his land. She took a breath, a deep one, and then she quickly stepped over it, feeling the tremor of what could only be defined as joy rolling through her. She proceeded to take another step, but before she could take the third one, Jake grabbed her hand and she quickly turned to face him. What are you? Before you leave, no, since this is the last time I'll ever see you again, can I do what I've always wanted to? And what is that? Can I? He paused for a while, as if he was afraid to say it. Can I kiss you? Well, that's, the no was on the very tip of her tongue, but there was this desperation in his eyes that stopped her from saying it. Those obsidian eyes sparkled with hope even in the dead of the night. She shouldn't, but she stupidly pitied him. Just one kiss. Just once. He didn't wait until she finished, instead, he roughly pulled her towards him with his hand that gripped hers. She tripped over her feet, but it was okay, since she fell against the warmth of his firm chest. Her ribs really felt like a cage now, suffocating her inflated heart. It was just about ready to burst, filled to the brim with blood and emotions far too big to fit in such a tiny organ. Rear. Pity. Joy. Sadness. Her emotions were just as confusing and distorted as his. Slowly, she lifted her head, realizing that he was already staring at her. His blonde hair laid messy against a small portion of his creased forehead and his lips were wet as if he'd just licked them. He was a handsome man, on par with Gio, on par with Zaid, but why in her eyes had he always looked better? His nonchalance was attractive, but she could bet if he smiled, he could woo anybody he wanted, just not her. Not after everything she'd been through while she was with him. Aren't you going to do it? He nodded, swiping her hair behind her ears just as he had done in that hospital before, latching said hand against her cheek. He leaned down, taking her lips between his plump ones. They were soft, softer than she'd expected them to be, and they moved so gently and yet so greedily against hers. She could feel as the sparks rippled, growing along with the warmth that settled in a bubble around them. The kiss got deeper, fiercer, his warm, wet tongue sliding against her bottom lip, and in the heat of the moment, she could only let him in. His tongue searched her mouth, every nook, every cranny, leaving her riled up and breathless when he pulled away. Goodbye, Delilah. Make sure that you live happily, even if it's without me. And then he turned, marching in the opposite direction. Delilah panted out her breaths, turning around and heading in the direction that led her away from him. She wished for him the same. One more glance back at his form, and she ran off into the woods, changing into her dark grey wolf mid-run. She shouldn't, but she wanted him to be happy too, even if it was without her. Jake walked back to the cabin with his heart heavily buried beneath his sadness. He'd already dealt with enough, and yet, the devil had sent its spawn to his doorstep, Beatrice. Sighing, he dug his hands deeper into his pockets. He felt cold, but he knew no amount of clothing could make him warm when the chills were coming from his heart. What are you doing here? Didn't I tell you not to come? And you expected me to listen? You said you would punish me, and you didn't even spare me enough of your time to do that. I waited for you, Elle wanted to see you. Look, Beatrice, I'm not in the mood for what you're here to say, I'm tired, am tired, so leave. He stepped up onto the veranda where she stood and walked past her to the door. His hand grasped the knob, but he didn't pull it open. Sighing, he turned back to face her. What do you really want? Why did you come here? I came here to see you. I know what this house means to you, so I wanted to check if you were okay, but I noticed that the Omega Slut's scent here isn't as strong as it should be. Did you put her back in the dungeon? No, she's long gone, I let her go, so you can stop worrying about her. Without killing her. Not everyone deserves to die, Beatrice. Not everyone, but I'm sure she does. You told me you'd kill her, you said she meant nothing to you even though she was your mate, so why didn't you kill her? Well, that's because she means something to me now. Jake, don't tell me, her breaths were heavy, clouded by anger. You can't be serious, I stuck by your side, Jake. I was here when she wasn't and instead of growing feelings for me, you love her. I didn't say that. What were you saying then? When you were heartbroken by your mother's death, starving by her graveside, who helped you? Who brought you up from your knees to your feet? Nobody was there but me, Jake, and I stuck by your side. Elle stuck by your side because I thought I'd one day be able to crack the shell you caved yourself behind. I'm the one who deserves your love, we've been through hell and back together, you can't do this to me, Jake. Jake turned to face her. Beatrix, no, don't say it. A sob breached the air from her lips, and Jake's jaws clenched at the sound of it. She's gone now, you'll look at me, you'll love me. Beatrice, it doesn't matter if she's here or not, just. There's no way I could love you the way you want me to. I care about you, you've caught me more times than I can count, done things that nobody else could without me killing them. For everything we've been through together, there is a special place in my heart for you, but I simply cannot love you. Why? I don't know. Beatrice grabbed his collar and her other hand slammed against his chest, over and over again before suddenly stopping. Her head fell against him and there she cried just as much as she did when she was a child. You see, she had come a long way with Jake, they both came from broken homes and grew just as broken. In a sense, they used each other as cement to build the ground they were standing on. She knew Jake's story, and he knew hers, and let's just say their story began the same night Jake's light turned into darkness. Flashback: Beatrice's bare feet skidded against the grass as she ran. She kept glancing back, trying to see if her worst nightmare was still behind her. Even though she couldn't see him, even though she didn't sense him, she kept running. Afraid. She always felt scared in that house, and right now, fear circulated through her body more than blood did. Why was her life like this? Her parents died on a mission, and she was left in the care of a man that was undoubtedly mentally challenged. He'd beat her for no reason, then had the nerve to call a 12-year-old child weak for not being able to fight back. She wanted to run away, but she wanted to kill him first. Her feet padded to a stop when her lungs felt just about to burst, and instead of running, she walked on the sore soles of her feet. She wasn't sure where on the Packlands she was, She hadn't been keeping track of direction, but she'd been here before. It was close to the Alpha's cabin, the beautiful place he stayed while his people were being abused. The suicide mission he sent her mom and dad on, why hadn't he gone there to help when he noticed they didn't come back? Why did he just leave them there to die? Beatrice wiped her cheeks that had already been messy with tears as she walked up to his house. She wished she could just burn it down and listen to his screams as the fire scorched his skin, eating it away piece by piece. She wanted him to suffer in however way her parents did. She didn't even want his bones to be spared. Her head whipped up when the scent of blood drifted through the air, strong, suffocating. It was his blood, the blood of her current Alpha. She stepped closer to the house and then stepped back. Anything going on in that house wasn't any of her business. She turned her back, but stopped when she heard a scream, one filled to the brim with dread, and then she could smell the Alpha's mate's blood, mixing with the scent of his. Something was happening, something really bad was happening, and she wouldn't help them even if she could. She retreated, hiding behind a tree until their son stepped onto the veranda, completely disheveled. He was covered in blood, blood that did not belong to him, and a knife dripping red was gripped tight in his hand. He walked down the steps, glancing her way before walking off in the opposite direction. He didn't see her, the tree hid her well, but he knew she was there. It was stupid, and she didn't know why she did it, but Beatrice followed him, her steps slow, and yet they were still clumsy. He stopped by a tree, and in the dirt beside it, he dug out the knife. "I did it, Mom, Elle killed him for you, you're completely free now." How could he? How did he do it? He just killed his father, and yet he wasn't even crying. He was, this boy, did he even have a heart? She stepped out from against the tree shed, walked behind, and stood beside him. She needed him to help her. "You killed your dad, didn't you? You even killed your baby brother, can you please kill my uncle too? I simply cannot love you." "Why?" "I don't know. I want to know why, Jake, there must be a reason, there must be something. I love you, so why can't you love me back?" "It's because," Jake looked off towards the woods instead of staring into those desperate blue eyes of hers. She was standing close to him, her chin digging slightly into his chest, and yet he felt nothing, no spark, no warmth, he just felt cold. This felt so different from when Delilah touched him. The beat of his heart would have fastened by now, and the warmth her body radiated would have already flooded through him, that along with the enchanting sparks. "It's because you don't love me, Beatrice. The feelings you have for me are nothing but gratefulness. You only stuck by me because you thought you owed me your life, because I saved you. What you feel for me is not love, but loyalty." What? She stumbled back, tears welling up in her eyes again. "I know what I feel, and it's not just loyalty. My feelings are real, and I will not let you refute them by claiming I only care because I'm grateful. Yes, I am grateful, yes, I do owe you my life, but that has nothing to do with my heart. How many years has it been since I've been waiting for you to heighten the stance of our relationship? How many years has it been?" The salty water fell down her cheeks as she yelled, crying out to someone who could see her tears, but couldn't wipe them. "Beatrice, I knew it was stupid, I've been saving myself for someone who went around every other woman but me. You tell everyone that I'm your Luna and yet, you haven't even marked me. That's shameful enough, but I still stayed. I thought I understood you, I thought we understood each other. We survived because we were together, so I thought we'd die together too, but Jake, between us both, I was the only one stupid enough to believe that there was an us when to you there has only ever been a me. Beatrice, don't say that. He reached for her, but she retreated, her back pressing against the door behind her. He pulled his hand back, pathetically folding it behind him. There has always been an us. Just not the us you wanted. You don't care about me. If you did, then you'd stop. Stop it. Stop crying. Stop doing this. Everything I did was to protect you from this. If I'd marked you, then all the pain you're feeling now would have tripled. You'd have felt pain every time I slept with somebody else, because no matter what, I could never touch you, I could never treat you like I treat those whores. To me, you're different from them, they are standing behind a line that you've already crossed. What I would do for you, I probably wouldn't do for anybody else. But please, stop begging me to love you, because I can't. Beatrice aggressively wiped her cheeks, easing off the door. If you knew that, why didn't you just leave me there to die that night? I would have been better off dead. And then she stomped her way past him before he could utter another word. Her feet led her through the darkness of the woods. She didn't go to the pack house, no, she went there, right where her uncle's house used to be. It was gone now, Jake had burnt it, but she remembered every single detail that house had. The wooden bench that sat on the left side of the front door, the cozy living room that greeted you as soon as you walked in, the little kitchen and the one bedroom her uncle used to sleep in. The house wasn't big, he'd lived alone before she was sent by the Alpha to live with him. At first, she thought he was nice, he acted like he was, but time revealed the devil he always tried to hide beneath that pleasant smile. He didn't like himself, it seemed. He was a beta like Beatrice's father, but the Alpha didn't choose him to be the official beta of the pack, he chose his brother instead. For that, he used to stand in front of the bathroom mirror and punish himself with a small dagger that he always carried around. Every time he cut himself, it would heal, but the pain, something about it drove him to hurt himself more. Later, she found out just why he looked in that mirror while driving a knife through his own skin. It was because he looked like his brother. He was crazy, so according to him, the reflection that looked back at him wasn't at all his. In that mirror, he was looking at Beatrice's father, Eric. It was sickening, the fact that he hated his own brother even after his death was sickening. But what was more sickening, was the fact that when he realized that she looked like her father too, she became that reflection that looked back at him in the mirror. He beat her to a point where it would take her days to heal, despite being a beta wolf. He'd use that little dagger every time, drag it across her skin, ruthlessly sink it past her flesh, and laughed when she cried. He reveled in her fear, wallowed in her tears, and throughout all the cruel punishments, he listed out ways in which he was better than her, or rather better than his brother. He had the strength of a beta, trained and stronger than a mere 13-year-old child. She'd always fight back against him, but it was in vain, and every time she got the chance to murder him in his sleep, her hands would start shaking, and she'd hesitate like a fool. That was why she'd been so desperate to ask a boy who just murdered his family for help, but that night, Jake had. Flashback: you killed your dad, didn't you? You even killed your baby brother, can you please kill my uncle too? He hadn't looked back at her immediately, but when he did, the coldness in his eyes made her want to retreat, to run, to hide. Leave me alone, if you don't. I'll kill you too. No, my uncle, look, these cuts. She showed him her arms, then lifted her blouse to show him the fresh bruises on her stomach. He did this to me, he beats me every day for no reason. You killed your father, you'll be alpha now, help me, please. If you won't kill him, then tell them to give me a room in the pack house. I don't want to stay there anymore, please. He heaved out a breath, then bent down to dig the knife he stuck in the dirt out. His steps were firm as he walked towards her. I said to leave me alone. The knife whipped towards her neck so fast that she didn't even see it coming, but though it did not penetrate her skin, it stopped dangerously close to it. Or I might hurt you worse than your uncle did. Beatrice stumbled back, falling on her bum with a gasp. Her heart was beating fast, and all her senses were directed towards running. This boy, those dark eyes he possessed withheld even more lethality than her uncle's did. She struggled to her feet, running off in the opposite direction. He didn't follow her, and she never approached him again. She saw him on the pack lands, but she was hidden beneath her hood, so he couldn't see her. After killing his father, he was placed in more severe alpha training in order to take his seat. He had no time for a stupid little girl who always hid beneath a blue hoodie. But that night, she had no idea he'd show up. As usual, her uncle had been torturing her in the living room, with his dagger, but this time it was different. His slices were deeper, more painful. It was as though he wanted to kill her, for real. He was silent too, no words of degradation, nothing, just silence. The lack of noise made the sound of the knife ripping through her skin even more audible, and when she cried, when she screamed, when she fought back, he ruthlessly pinned her hands above her head. His knife ceased, and for a moment, and he stared down at her, assessing her closely. You know, the more I look at you, the more I realize that you resemble your mother too. Your eyes, your lips. His knife tore at the collar of her blouse, then through all of it, and streams of blood followed it down her chest as the blade tore mercilessly through her skin too. He tore her pants off her, leaving her almost bare in front of him. Not having a mate for myself, of course I always wanted to been with her. I wanted everything he had, and she was a part of it. He smiled, a sick smile that had Beatrice trembling beneath his hold. He never done this before, he'd never, since you look like her so much, why not just pretend you're her for tonight, Warning, this chapter contains scenes that might be sensitive to some readers, such as physical abuse. You have been warned. Continuation of flashback. He smiled, a sick smile that had Beatrice trembling beneath his hold. He'd never done this before, he'd never since you look like her so much, why not just pretend you're her for tonight, The knife dug beneath the leg opening of her drawers, cutting both sides, leaving her completely open, to the night air as well as his watchful eyes. Her legs trembled as his grip on her hands tightened, her eyes wide as she began to beg, more desperately than she'd always done. Uncle Julius, Please, my mom, am not, please don't do this. I'm begging you, Uncle Julius, please don't. Tears welled up in her eyes, unimaginable fear running through her. It felt almost paralyzing. He was her uncle, for Christ's sake. But had gone mad. He was drunk without a sip of liquor. This man couldn't be sane or sober. Don't do what, Sandra? I'm only doing what I've always wanted to. He was calling her by her mother's name, still smiling as he dug into his pants for his member. She wanted to vomit, to give in to the fear and its wicked paralysis, but she had to fight. She had to try saving herself. His eyes met hers when she began to struggle against his hold, cold, and yet they held some form of amusement. Tears ran down her cheeks, and he used the knife to catch them. Beautiful, cry just like that for me, Sandra. He dug the knife into the wooden floor beside her, using the hand he had held it with to spread her legs wider. When I'm done, I'm going to use that dagger my father gave me to kill you. Eric's dead anyway, die too. A sob left her lips as she pushed back against the floor, looking at the knife, just hoping she could grab it. She couldn't, her hands were gripped tight in his, but nothing could stop her from just hoping. Her heels pressed into the floor, her struggle turning into desperate writhes, despite the pain that flooded from her fresh cuts. She should have killed him when she got the chance. She shouldn't have hesitated, she was a fool. If she'd killed him, then this wouldn't be happening. If she killed him, then a gasp left her lips when she felt him slowly paving his way in, and then he stopped, pulling back. Sandra, it's dry. His free hand balled into a fist, and he slammed it against the left side of her face. I know you'd been wet for him. What? You want to been with him, but you don't want with me. He chuckled, and Beatrice swallowed the blood that had filled her mouth. It's fine, he brought his hand beneath his mouth, spitting against his fingers. I know how to get you nice and ready. His hand slithered between her fold again, wiping his saliva between them. Now, isn't that better? The front door slammed open, and Julius looked up from the living room floor. It was dark, both inside and out, but as she bent her head back with a wince to look at who was there, she saw him, standing by the doorway like a knight in shining armor. He didn't say a word. In fact, her uncle was the first to open his mouth. What the? Kid, what are you doing here? He rolled off her and approached Jake, who still stood by the doorway, unmoving. Aren't you the dead alpha's son? He latched onto Jake's shoulders, squeezing his fingers into them. Run on back home, I'm busy right now. And don't breathe a word about what you just saw, okay? The sound of claws ripping through someone's fingertip was heard, Jake's claws, long and sharp. She barely even got to see them. As soon as they were out, he rammed his hand forward, penetrating her uncle's stomach. Julius gasped, the sound full of pain and surprise as he fell to his buckling knees. He looked up at Jake, who looked down at him with eyes that could instill fear into anyone. I am not just the dead alpha's son, I'm practically the new alpha now. I am not a kid. I feel offended that you addressed me as a kid and yet, you were ready to trap somebody who's probably the same age as me. Apologize. He looked towards Beatrice, who had rolled onto her knees as he ruthlessly pulled his hand back, splattering blood all over the floor. To the both of us. Julius groaned first, then chuckled. The new alpha, you say? Word is already spreading that you murdered your own father. A kid like you can't lead. They'll raid this pack, kill you and take it over. You won't be the new alpha for long. At least I'll be the new alpha long enough to punish you for your disrespect. Jake bent down in front of him. I killed my father because I was offended by the fact that he didn't even initiate an official funeral for my mother. Isn't that disrespectful? But I guess I'm lucky that she at least got buried. When I kill you, your body will be burnt with this house. A little boy talking big telling an adult to apologize to him. Beatrice looked down at the knife stuck in the wooden floor and with hands that were shaking, she clumsily dug it out. If you think I'll sit back and let a kid murder me all because he thinks he's alpha, then you're wrong. She struggled to her feet, the cold wind whispering across her bare skin as she walked towards his back. I'll kill you, kill her and then run away. With tears running down her cheeks, Beatrice hammered the knife into her uncle's shoulder and ripped it back out. The sound of his pained whimper had her stumbling back, eyes wide and fearful as he twisted his neck to look at her. You little! He cried out, blood spilling from the sides of his mouth when Jake rammed his claws into him again. I don't like people who get distracted easily, and I hate people who bark but can't bite. He tore his claws out of him, only to sink them back in, again, and then again until her uncle fell back against the floor, struggling to breathe. Blood leaked in pools from his body, flooding the wooden floor, painting it in his blood and not hers. Sandra, help me help, Sandra. The fact that he still kept calling her by her mother's name made her blood boil. Her parents died over a month ago, and she didn't even get the chance to grieve. Instead of feeling sad because of their death, she'd instead been living in fear for her life. And now he was reminding her all over again, that her parents were dead, that there was no Sandra, no Eric to go home to, just an empty house. This man, she hated him so much. Why did he have tea? I'm not going to kill him, you do it. Jake pulled his shirt over his head, throwing it towards her, and she clumsily caught it. You're going to be all alone now, learn to fend for yourself. He's taken so much from you, let him repay you for it all, with his life. Don't spare anyone, whether they are your family, your friend, or your mate. He twisted around after that and walked out the door, leaving her alone with a man who had been causing her pain and heartache for a month. The knife in her hand trembled along with her hand. She couldn't spare him again. If she spared him, then he'll hurt her again, he'll try to rape her again. She fell to the floor in front of him, crying as she lifted the knife way over her head. Sandra. I'm sorry, Uncle Julius, I'm scared, I have to do this, I have to. She paused for a moment, shaking her head. No, this isn't something I have to do, this is something you deserve. Her trembling hands drove the knife down, hammering it into his chest, right where his heart was. He didn't whimper or gasp, he just took a breath, his last breath. She didn't pull the knife back out, she left it in his chest and stood up on her shaky feet. She tousled the shirt the boy had given her, and pulled it over her head, covering a portion of her bare body, and then she staggered outside. She looked around, and she found him leant against one of the trees with a bottle of what she knew was gasoline in hand. Are you done? He eased off the tree and approached her. You did well, Beatrice. At the sound of that his cold and nonchalant praise, Beatrice burst into tears again. He didn't hug her like a normal person would. Instead, he stepped right past her, opening up the bottle and pouring its content all over the FL. But it didn't matter if he hugged her or not, he saved her life. She'd asked many other people for help, grown ups who never came to her rescue, but him, her savior, her knight in shining armor, he didn't ignore her cry for help. He stepped outside when the bottle was empty, then pulled a lighter out of his pocket. I asked my men to prepare a room for you in the pack house. You don't have to stay here anymore, and the pack members will put out the fire before it spreads. A clicking sound was heard and then there was fire floating from the lighter in his hand. He looked over at the sobbing mess she was before throwing it inside the house. He didn't say a word more as he threw the bottle aside and started walking away. Beatrice watched him, her lips trembling as she whispered out, "Thank you." He heard, but he didn't look back, and once again, she did something stupid. She followed him, not looking back at the flames that licked at the god-forsaken house. "Why are you following me? How do you know my name?" She sniffled. "You called me Beatrice earlier even though he called me Sandra. I asked my men about you, wanted to know where you lived." Oh. Will you stop following me now?" "Well, like you, I want to be like you. Teach me how to be strong, want to be your beta. I owe you that much." End of flashback. Beatrice wiped her teary eyes. She wouldn't stop following Jake. He was hers just as much as she was his. She opened the mind link between Jake's gamma and her, Garth. "Round me up some warriors, some with a ranking low enough that nobody will even notice if they go missing." "Why?" "Jake set the Omega free. I want them to kill her and then you to kill them. That way, word won't spread that she's dead." "Why not just ask me to kill her then? If Jake finds out her blood is on your hands, he will kill you, but he probably won't kill me." "All right, where are you? I'll send you some men." Delilah ran with no care for direction. She ran, and she did not look back. She was finally free from the man who had kidnapped, abused, and killed her child. She was free, so why did there seem to be a hole in her heart? She stopped in tracks, twisting to look at where she was running from. That sad look that had been on his face kept tearing her heart apart, ripping her open. She hadn't really felt the mate bond before, but right now, it was tearing through her, pulling her like a string, begging her to take a step back. Just one so she could be closer to him. She didn't, the bond would not make her falter, that look that had been on his face would not sink into the stupid side of her heart. He'd set her free, she would not turn around and walk right back into captivity. A breath left her lips as she started running again. She needed to find her way back home, but she hadn't even been conscious the day he'd brought her on his lands. Had assaulted her until she was knocked out cold. She didn't get the chance to track his movements, and now she was stranded. Squinting at the woods in front of her, she took a left turn and then a right, and then at some point, she couldn't even differentiate her left from her right. She felt like she was in a maze, everything looked the same. Still, she made sure to follow the path the grass made, only stopping when her little legs were trembling. She laid beside a tree, deciding to rest for a while. The night was cold and dark and dangerous. She knew rogues could show up at any time, which was why she tried to fight the sleep that kept trying to take her, but she couldn't fight it for long. Her eyes caved first, slowly blinking shut, and then the rest of her body relaxed along with them. Seconds passed, minutes did, and then an hour. Her eyes shot open, her ears twitching at the sound of running paws. Alarmed, she sat up, looking around and sniffing the air. There were wolves running in her direction, and they weren't rogues, they were from Jake's pack. Well, at least she was sure of one of them. Garth. She remembered his scent because he was always the one Jake sent to watch her, but what was he doing here? Were they after her? Did he send them? Delilah quickly stood to her feet, running off. After just waking up, she felt a little feeble, but she didn't let that or the fear creeping into her slow her down. She twisted towards the east, her heart beating in her ears as she ran. They were closing in on her, she wasn't moving fast enough, and yet despite knowing that, she took the chance to glance back. There were 5 of them in total, including Garth, mirroring every step she made. They were moving fast, faster than her, they were bigger too, and as an Omega who'd never trained a day in her life, she didn't stand a chance against them. Quinn. She wanted Quinn. If Quinn were here, then Delilah would have nothing to worry about. Quinn would have protected her, Quinn would have been brave enough to fight. But Quinn wasn't here. Not anymore. Quinn was gone. Delilah's head whipped back in front, but not in time to stop her from stumbling over a log. A gasp left her lips, pain scourging her left leg entirely. She tried to ignore it, to continue running for the life she was trying to preserve, but the pain was too much, she could only stagger forward now. She was trapped. It took absolutely no time for the men to catch up, surrounding her. Their growls rung in her ears, and then a multicolored wolf from the batch attacked her. She rolled onto her back, whimpering from the hit. He snapped at her neck, but before he could grasp it between his teeth another wolf slammed him off of her, the biggest of the 5. Delilah watched with wide eyes as the bigger wolf ripped the smaller one apart, spilling blood even on her. The other 3 who'd been a danger to her seemed to be in more danger than her now. They stepped back when the wolf who had blood dripping from his mouth turned towards them. They were probably just as confused as she was. What was happening? Why was Garth suddenly attacking his own men? She wanted to find out, but it was probably safer if she kept her curiosity to herself and ran. She struggled to her feet, the leg shed hit was still hurting, it was as if she'd sprained it, but she didn't give a talk. She staggered away from the scene, not looking back even when she heard the loud howls of pain. It was when it got silent that she looked back. The dead wolves had changed back into their human forms, and Garth stood in the center of the bloodshed. He was looking her way and then suddenly, his bones started cracking. Soon, instead of a brown wolf, there he was, standing with blood all over him. Delilah looked away when he gestured towards her, pretending she hadn't seen. She continued with her struggle to get away, knowing he could catch up if he wanted to, and that was exactly what he did. She heard his rushed steps behind her, and she felt it when he roughly grabbed onto her tail. If it isn't Jake's little bunny, change back and at least thank me for saving you. Delilah glared back at him, but switched forms nonetheless. What do you want from me? She asked him. I saved you, I was sent here to kill you, you're lucky you looked so pitiful while struggling to run. Who? Delilah swallowed, glancing away from him. Did Jake send you? She hoped he'd say no, she was praying he would, but when he nodded, her heart shattered into pieces inside of her chest. Yes, he told me to hunt you down and kill you in the worst possible way for leaving. Delilah clenched her hands against the grass, trying to ignore the pain his words caused. Jake, how could he? He was the one who set her free and then sent his men to kill her for leaving? How stupid could she be to really have believed that he was capable of changing? So what now? I'll let you live, but in return, never return. If Jake finds out I spared you, he'll kill me and then kill you too. Delilah nodded, she didn't trust him, he had no reason to leave her alive, but right now, did she even have a choice but to do whatever he told her to? Head west from here, that's the direction of the Silver Moon Pack if that's where you're headed. And then he surprisingly turned and left. He didn't attack her, he just left her, alive. Delilah watched his back until he disappeared into the woods, making sure that he was gone before switching directions. She survived another knife to her throat, it was time to go back home now. It's been 3 days, 3 days of what Delilah claimed was her freedom. Her injured foot completely healed a day ago, and now she could move around freely, but she was hungry. Throughout her journey, she'd only managed to catch herself one squirrel, and it took her 3 lives to do it. She knew she wouldn't be able to catch anything else including another squirrel, but that did not stop her from trying. She'd found a rabbit and chased it until it ran back into its hole, and then she'd tried to catch a deer she saw drinking water at a lake. Both attempts were unsuccessful. She hadn't known hunting was so hard, probably because she never had to do it before. Quinn didn't let her do anything arduous. Quinn fended for her instead of having her fend for herself, and Quinn fed the family when Dad was on missions, even though she'd been a child too. There was a time in her life when Delilah actually looked up to her sister, but all her admiration and respect vanished the moment she found out that Quinn took all she ever wanted. Giovanni. At first, she'd just been jealous, but all that jealousy ate her up from the inside when her mom found out that she'd liked Giovanni. Catherine vividly showcased her once hidden hate for Quinn and gave Delilah reasons to hate her too. That's how it started. Delilah decided to take a path she wished she hadn't been adamant enough to trudge on for so long. If she'd had even one bit of conscience, of gratefulness in her heart, then that wolf Quinn had used to hunt food, that wolf Quinn had used to shield and protect the family, she'd never dream of taking it away from her, especially for a reason so petty. It was funny though, how jealousy could make people do things they know they'd regret. Quinn had such a good heart, even after Delilah betrayed her, she'd been forgiving. Maybe if Delilah hadn't betrayed her again, then all of what was happening now would not have happened. Or scratch that, if she'd stood back and did nothing at all, this cruel fate would not have been written beneath her name. The paths she took led her here. If she hadn't seduced Giovanni, then Quinn wouldn't have had the Alpha King as her second chance mate, and Jake would not have had a reason to show up at the Silver Moon Pack, since they would have not been associated with the Alpha King. No, there was an alliance, it probably would have still happened, but in a different way, in a way where she wouldn't be left alone to fend for herself, because if nobody else would, then she knew Quinn would have come to her rescue. Delilah sat against the grass, watching as the deer she'd been chasing got further and further away. She regretted meeting him, Jake. Why did the goddess have to give her such a mate? She'd pitied him for a while. She probably wouldn't ever forgive or understand him, but if he'd been nicer, if he'd only been. She clenched her jaws, teeth grinding together. Then what, Delilah? You would have loved him? If she'd been in her human form, she'd chuckle. How foolish she'd been! She believed in him, he said he liked her, that he was willing to throw the witch he had by his side away for her, that he was willing to change. Was this what he called changing? Delilah's eyes twitched in anger. She never wanted to see him again, that pitiful face, those sad, dark eyes, those soft and succulent lips, she never wanted to see them again. He'd looked so reliable out there at his pack border, he seemed so honest that she trusted him. But he fooled her. She shouldn't have hugged him, she shouldn't have kissed him, she knew, but still the regret she felt about doing it wasn't enough to overshadow wanting to do it again. It felt warm. He held in a way Giovanni had never held her before, kissed her with a desperation that she did not know. It was. She just. What was happening to her? What was she even thinking? Getting up from her sitting position, she ran off, choosing to continue her journey instead of hunting despite her hunger. It was surprising that Garth really left her alive and gave her the right directions. She'd stumbled up on a pack during her run, and she'd asked one of the men patrolling the borders about the directions towards the Silver Moon pack. She told him she was lost, and he told her that she was on the right path, but she needed to take a left from here. She didn't know how much further it was, but she needed to get back home, to see Mom, to see Dad, to see Giovanni. His name caused a quake in her heart. How would she tell him that she lost his baby? And what would he do to her now that she wasn't carrying his child anymore? She was scared. Despite loving him, she knew he hated her. His love only lasted for a while before he realized that she really wasn't the one he wanted, it was Quinn. And it had hurt to find out that after everything she did to have him, it took absolutely nothing to lose him. I won. As the sun went down, the breeze got denser and colder. Delilah had found a mango tree earlier that alleviated her hunger, and now she was back to running again. Tomorrow would mark her 4th day of traveling. She was getting impatient now. Was she really on the right path? And if she wasn't, was she going to die out here in the wild? It's a mystery how she hadn't run into any rogues. The goddess was punishing her, but it seems she was still kind enough to protect her. Delilah heaved a breath, one that suddenly got stuck in her throat. That scent, she was sure it belonged to Quinn. It was fading, but it still gave away the fact that she'd been here. Delilah's run suddenly turned into hesitant steps as the familiar woods she grew up in came into view. It took her 3 days, but she'd made it. However, she now felt scared to step past the borders. Quinn had been here, but why? Her hesitant steps brought her to the edge of the borders, and her heart rattled when the heavy scent of blood drifted across her nose. It was a scent she knew, the blood of the woman who'd given birth to her. It was Catherine's blood. She ran across the pack border, her heart palpitating in her chest as fear overtook her. What happened here? She could also smell her father's blood, that and the fading scent of the Alpha King. Her pace quickened, and she stopped when Giovanni's patrollers surrounded her. She didn't have time for this, she was in a rush, her mom, her dad. She quickly changed forms, glancing at the men. It's me, it's Delilah, they stepped back, and she ran between them, following the scent of the blood. It led her to the pack prison, and her soul left her body when she saw two men carrying the seemingly lifeless body of her mother outside. Giovanni was standing at the side, watching the scene and not doing anything. He turned as if he smelled her scent, eyes going wide, but he did not say anything. Delilah rushed forwards, not towards him, but at the men carrying her mother. What happened? The doctor. Take her to the doctor. One of them looked up at her with a look of pity. I'm sorry, we can't do that, she's already dead. One of them looked up at her with a look of pity. I'm sorry, we can't do that, she's already dead. Delilah's heart ceased to beat as she glanced down at her mother's body. There was a deep wound gushing blood across her neck, and her eyes were wide open even though she was dead. Who? Delilah stuttered out. Who did this to her? Who killed my mother? Her knees buckled, and she fell on them as a sudden weakness gripped her muscles. She couldn't define the emotions she felt, she was so angry, so sad, and so confused. Who did this to Mom? She asked again, but the men carrying her body only kept walking away. Somebody gripped her arm from behind, pulling her to her feet. Quit it! Don't come here and cry because that witch is dead. Quinn killed her, and if Quinn didn't, then I would have been the cause of her death, and Delilah, if you don't leave my pack right now, God so help me, I will kill you too. Delilah felt it when the warm tears dripped down her cheeks, her lips opening and closing in sad and immense surprise at Giovanni's words. Quinn? Quinn killed my mother. Well, it's only fair since your mother killed hers. Leave, Delilah. But Dad, what about Dad? You don't want to see him, he's close to dying too. His wolf is dead, and the same poison we'd ruthlessly used on Quinn is now slowly gobbling up his human side. He drank too much of it. Alphazade purposely gave him too much. What? She yanked her arm out of his and rushed into the prison, stopping in front of the cell her father was in. He was on the floor, writhing and groaning, he seemed to be in so much pain. Delilah gripped the bars, ignoring Giovanni who'd rushed in behind her. Dad, please, I beg of you, don't die, don't leave me, I am sorry, but please, Dad. He looked towards her, his eyes bloodshot red, teeth clenched. Delilah, why are you here? Catherine is, Quinn, she finally did what she was supposed to. Knew it was supposed to happen, I know Catherine deserved it, but I still wasn't prepared, it still makes me sad. He said in between grunts. Don't hate your sister, she was only protecting herself, she did what Elle couldn't, she avenged her mother, she avenged Catherine's twin sister, Katrina, who she'd killed. I'm sad, but I'm glad Kot can rest in peace now, both of them. Dad, what are you saying? I don't understand, please don't die. Her father's hand clenched against the floor as if the pain he'd been feeling increased. He screamed, a scream that squeezed her heart, one that almost demolished it. His struggle against the floor became fiercer, he was fighting for his life, Delilah knew he was dying. Dad, she sobbed, looking towards the ceiling. Goddess, please, save him, take me instead, her hands clamped under her chin, desperately rubbing together. If not before, then she regretted everything she'd done now, and she hated the Alpha King, she hated Quinn, but most of all, she hated herself. She was the cause of everything. Catherine would not have gone above and beyond for her if she hadn't been crying over Giovanni on the night of his mating ceremony with Quinn. If she'd controlled her jealousy, if she'd just accepted the fact that Giovanni wasn't her mate, then she looked back towards her dad when his writhing suddenly stopped. He wasn't looking at her anymore, but when his eyes fixated on her again, they weren't full of pain anymore, they were just blank. Father! She stuttered out. He squinted at her. Who are you? Where am I? Dad, what are you saying? Dad, you don't remember me. Where? He looked around. Where is this? Giovanni stepped forward, roughly pushing her away from the bars to open up the cell. I'm not sure what's going on, but the only reason why I'm going to take him to the pack doctor is because Quinn asked me to look after him in her absence. He grabbed Derek by the arm, but when he forced him to his feet, he could not stand up, his legs, they seemed limp, dead. Can't you stand up? Giovanni asked him. He shook his head. My feet can't feel them. Giovanni kneeled in front of him. Hold on to me, the pack doctor might be able to help, it seems the poison might have been too much, but not enough to kill you. Derek held around his neck and Giovanni carried him on his back out of the cell. Delilah followed, sniffling from the prison straight to the pack hospital. Halfway there, her father lost consciousness and even as the doctor assessed him, he still hadn't woken up. Delilah looked towards Giovanni who stood beside her, the man whose mark was still on her. Will he die? I do not know, and I might not even care. Don't call me by that name _Alpha Giovanni, use the name the rest of the pack does. Alpha Giovanni I'm sorry. Sorry about what exactly? He walked out of the hospital room, and Delilah reluctantly followed him down the hall. Are you sorry about what your mother did? How she ruined her life, ruined Quinn's, ruined her mates, ruined mine, and ruined yours. Leave Delilah, after what your mother did to me, I don't even have the heart to look at you. I've never loved you, that stupid potion she gave me forced me to, and now Lve lost Quinn, and it's all because of her, all because of you. No, I leave. The yelled word frightened her in a way that she jumped back with a gasp. Leave now, for your sake. But our baby it's kill it, I don't want it, I don't want anything to do with you. Delilah's heart broke for the third time tonight, she felt like it wasn't in her chest anymore, but instead scattered into tiny pieces in the very pit of her stomach. Her eyes watered as she looked away, hanging onto her stomach. It's already dead anyway, that's what I was going to say. She stopped in her tracks, and he stopped walking to look back at her. Leave, Alpha Giovanni, but I at least need to see that my father lives through this. Let me stay here until he's better, I promise I'll leave after. Then do as you wish. He dug his hands into his pocket and continued on his way. Delilah rubbed her eyes until they were red as she walked back to the hospital room. Nobody wanted her around, even her own mate wanted her dead. Did it even make sense she lived on? It took 3 days for her father to wake up, and when he did, he was paralyzed from the waist down, and he did not even remember her name until she told him. Delilah had been taking care of him, giving him food, helping him into the tub, and fetching him clothes. Though he did not know exactly who she was, he was comfortable with her. He called her an angel sent to his side by the goddess. It was heartbreaking, but Delilah thought it was better this way. If he remembered everything, he probably wouldn't want to call her his daughter, much less an angel anyway. If he remembered everything, he'd probably hate her because all of this was caused by her greed. Her hand trembled as she brought the spoon of rice to his lips. She was leaving tonight. This was the last time he'd ever see her. Even if she wanted to, she couldn't return. Giovanni told her he'd kill her if she did. He also promised to completely tear the bond between them to pieces before her departure tonight. Nothing she said to him could change his mind. He hated her, for her crimes and for her mother's. Unlike every other pack member who died, her mother's body was burnt and not buried beside a tree that would be known as hers. It was sad, it was just so, heart-wrenching. Shed bawled and begged him, Shed gotten down on her knees and pleaded, but he was determined to see her drift away from the pain of not just losing her mother to death, but losing her completely. There was no grave she could pray to, nothing that would remind her of Catherine, the Catherine who became a traitor for her, the Catherine who'd loved her with heart and soul, the Catherine who deserved this, but at the same time didn't, that Catherine. A teardrop streamed down her cheek, but before she could wipe it, Derek caught it with a finger. "Are you okay? You always seem distant, and yet since I woke up 5 days ago, you've barely left my side. There is so much sadness hiding behind those brown eyes. You've helped me so much, I want to help you too." Delilah pushed her seat back and stood to her feet, placing the plate of food on the table beside the bed. "I'm sorry, I'm fine. I'm glad you appreciate my help, and I'm sorry that I'll no longer be here to help you. I'm leaving tonight, Mr. Felon." "Oh, he smiled, sadly. "It's fine, I can help myself now. I just hope wherever you go, it brings you more joy than sadness." Delilah nodded, trying her hardest not to cry. He was so kind. He lost his memories, but he did not lose himself. "Please. Take good care of yourself, mean Derek." "Goodbye." She walked towards the door, but his next words stopped her from opening it. "A goodbye hug would be nice." "I mean I probably won't see you again, Delilah." Before he could finish, Delilah pivoted on her feet and rushed back towards him. Her head fell against his chest with a sob. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." He patted her head, gently, soothingly. "It's fine, there's no need to apologize." "No, I'm sorry, I never thought, shouldn't have, been a fool." "I don't know what you're talking about, but everyone makes mistakes. Do not condemn yourself for the ones you made, rather learn from them and try to do better. That's the only way you'll be able to forgive yourself, but hush." His fingers ruffled her red hair. "I've never seen an angel cry before. You'll be fine, I promise." Delilah nodded against him. "Thanks, I'll leave now." "All right, but do come back if you can. I'd be happy to see you." She nodded at him once more, a lie she could not even tell with her mouth. He looked so hopeful at the thought of seeing her again, but Delilah was sure he would not get the chance to. Wiping her eyes, she marched out the door without another word. Her heart was in pieces. She did not know how to react to the pain that kept torturing her, the heavy burden of blame that had been bestowed up on her. She couldn't blame Quinn anymore. She couldn't even live up to hating her. Quinn had every right to get her revenge. Catherine killed her mother, almost killed her wolf and could have even killed her, but could she not have had some mercy? Did she really have to kill her? Delilah clenched her jaws, refusing to blink because if she did, the tears settled in her eyes would fall. She'd been crying for 7 nights straight. She needed to stop now. She'd experienced pain before. This was absolutely nothing. And yet, every breath she took was deep, and with every step towards the exit, she got closer to faltering. The dam that had held back her tears fell as soon as she stepped outside, and water kept dripping down her cheeks, not stopping even when she wiped the salty liquid away. She grasped onto a tree nearby, using it as an anchor to hold herself up. She felt weak and dizzy. All of this was too much for her to take in. This had been her home for what felt like eternity, and knowing she wouldn't be able to come back was a lethal blow to her already shattered heart. Nobody cared if she lived or died, only Dad did, and if he were to ever find out the truth, he had probably want her dead too. This was unfair. Goddess, this was too much. She'd been wrong to covet Quinn's mate, but in return, Quinn got a better mate, a stronger one. Quinn was now known by all and most likely loved by all, and she? She was loved by nobody, not the man she'd coveted and taken, and not the man she was cruelly fated to. Where would she go from here? Who would she turn to? Would she be lonely in those neutral woods until the rogues came to eat her up? Delilah sobbed, slamming her hand against the tree until somebody grabbed it. Stop, your hand has bled enough. Alpha Geo is in his office, he wishes to see you. Delilah turned towards Cannon, whose face expressed his sympathy towards her. Stop hurting yourself and stop crying. I can't, just, be strong, it's only going to get harder from now on. I heard you lost the baby, I'm sorry that happened to you. No, it's fine, Geo didn't want it anyway. And that's wrong, my wife gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. That child is my world, I wake up happy every morning knowing that I'll get to see both her and my mate. Perhaps if you still had your baby, you'd have a lot more courage to live without blaming and hurting yourself. That's not. I don't think it's fine, let's just get this over with. It's going to be painful, but I do hope you pull through. He turned his back to her, walking down the paved path, and she followed him. I know you're not evil, Delilah. You've always been nice and jovial whenever you were around me, just like Quinn. I saw you as a little sister, and though I still don't understand why you did what you did, I'm rooting for you. Don't lose yourself out there, find it. Delilah nodded her head, despite the fact that he couldn't see her. It got silent after that, and it stayed that way even as they walked up to the door of Giovanni's office. He opened it for her, and closed it as soon as she walked in. Delilah looked at Geo, who stood by the window, looking out there instead of at her. Are you ready? He asked. I'm not, but that doesn't matter, does it? You're right, I don't care if you're ready or not. He finally turned to stare at her. I know a rejection is strong enough to kill an Omega. If things weren't like this, LD have let you reject me instead, so I endure the pain. But Delilah, you deserve the pain, and I hope it kills you before you make it off my land, so I can burn your body like I burnt your mother's. Do you? Delilah looked down at the tiled floor beneath her feet. Do you really hate me that much? I do. Then, you can reject me, however, let me say this first. What? I'm sorry, on behalf of myself and my mom. Sorry can never bring Quinn back to me, Delilah. Delilah sniffled. I know, then don't apologize, just accept my rejection. He stepped towards her, every step inputting fear into her heart. Giovanni Lum rejects you, Delilah Felon. You are no longer Luna of the Silver Moon Pack, nor are you a part of it. Accept my rejection as well as your punishment. Delilah ignored the tears that rushed down her cheeks, but she could not ignore the pain that wickedly brought her to her knees. The burn started from her heart, and then it spread, seemingly turning everything inside of her to ash. She was literally choking and writhing. This pain felt like it was really going to kill her. She started, and when she could not finish, Giovanni fell on his knees in front of her, roughly grabbing her wet face. Accept my rejection before you die, Delilah, I want the satisfaction of hearing you say it. Her throat felt dry, and she could barely even breathe, but she'd say it, she had to say it. I accept. I accept your rejection. He nodded, finally letting go of her face and standing up. Good, now leave this pack and never return. Delilah tried to stand, but she only kept falling again, so she crawled her way to the door, struggling to open it. The pain was not alleviating, it kept becoming more extreme. She crept outside onto the pavement that created a path towards the woods, the raw concrete bruising her knees, abrading her skin. She sobbed until she began to cough up blood. She could feel the bond breaking, she just had to survive until it was completely torn apart. She looked up at Cannon, who stared down at her with pitiful eyes, and when he stepped towards her, Giovanni held him back. If you help her, your wife and your child will be banished along with her. Cannon gritted his teeth and looked away, as if the sight of her hurting this much was hurting him too. She deserves this, after all she's done, she deserves it. But you're no saint either, you were in on it, you'd have done anything to get Quinn to stay, so stop playing the innocent card. I'm going to help her, you won't banish me anyway, you can't. Can not you? Before Gio could finish, he rushed towards her, helping her to her feet. I'm only taking her to the pack borders, I can do that, right? Gio ran his hand down his face in frustration. Leave this, do whatever you want. And Cannon did exactly what he said he would. He struggled with her until they made it to the very edge of the pack border, and then he turned and left. His last words to her were to be strong, but she wasn't sure if she was capable of doing that. Jake sat in his office, glaring at the paperwork on his desk. It's been a week and a day since Delilah left, and he'd been anxious throughout every second of each passing day. He missed her scent and her beauty and the warmth, the calmness he felt whenever he was around her. He missed her eyes, her lips, it was driving him crazy. He kept wondering if he'd made the right decision. His heart kept tricking him, telling him he was a fool, while his mind kept giving him logical reasons as to why what he did was actually right. And he didn't know which one to believe. Maybe he really should have kept her here, maybe if he'd been more open to changing and more adamant with his confessions, then she'd eventually find it in her heart to love him back. He should have tried harder to gain her heart, even though she'd done absolutely nothing and still acquired his. It was as though she owned his very soul, controlled every nerve in his head, because why every thought that popped up in his head was about her? He kept having flashbacks of him tightly hanging onto her and nightmares of her with somebody else, a blank-faced man that was definitely not him. He was miserable, and lonely, and he couldn't believe he was just now realizing that. Pinching the bridge of his nose, Jake pressed his elbows against the wooden desk. He also felt like he should have been greedier instead of trying to change, because all his step towards change brought him was a growing misery. His nightmares about her were probably him trying to accept the fact that the cure to his pain, the beat to his heart, was really never ever going to run back into his arms. And it hurts, it was tearing him to pieces, breaking him apart. He wondered if she'd even thought about him once since she left, he wondered if maybe, just maybe she missed him too. But realistically, he knew she didn't. She was probably with that pitiful Alpha Giovanni now, the man she'd defended, the one she'd boldly told him she belonged to. She was probably happy now, and he was the only one drowning in sorrow. The mate bond kept torturing him too, they were far apart, and it wanted them to be together. It kept hanging on just so their connection doesn't get severed. But he wished it would just let go and spare him the pain. He already made his decision to set her free, and he would not break his promise to her. The freedom had given to her, he would not take it back. Finally reaching for his pen, he began working, a method to keep her off his mind. But while reading through, he stopped because of the sudden jolt of pain in his heart. The bond between them felt as though it was quivering, breaking, and its magnetic element was stronger now, begging him, no forcing him to go to her. He stood to his feet, his eyes flashing red and then back to obsidian. For some reason, his control was faltering, and the instinctual side of him was trying to take over. This had never happened before, he didn't understand what was happening to him or what was happening to her. But if the bond was this desperate, then it was definitely something he needed to worry about. Ignoring the pain, he walked around his desk and then out the door, meeting Beatrice on the trail towards the woods. She smiled at him. "I was just coming to see you, where are you going?" He walked past her, not having the time or the care to answer, but she grabbed onto his arm, nails gripping into his skin. "Answer me, Jake, you've been mad at me for days when I'm the one who should be mad at you. Can you just stop? I'm sorry I lashed out, I'm sorry I said it, so just talk to me." Jake sucked in a breath, trying not to groan from the pain that was destroying him on the inside. "Beatrice, I don't have the time for this right now, I have somewhere to be. You can say whatever you want when I get back." "No, just tell me, are you going to meet Garth perhaps? Or are you I'm going to Delilah, believe she's in danger." He ripped his arm out of her grasp. "Tell Garth to watch over the pack while I'm gone, I'll be back in a few days." "Not her again, don't go, for once, just choose me." "Beatrice, he sighed when he saw her eyes filled with tears. I can't choose you, I already told you that. He walked off, but stopped 3 steps later at Beatrice's venomous whisper. You'll have to choose me, after all, she's already dead. He turned to face her, not believing he'd heard her correctly. What did you say? Beatrice glared at him, those eyes filled with anger and determination. I said she's dead, killed her. She laughed. That night you said you set her free, after our argument, I sent some men after her. You love her so much, and yet, the connection between you two doesn't seem strong enough. Beatrice, you. Jake processed her words, slowly, and then his eyes widened at the revelation. Anger, a profuse amount of it tore through him, and the bit of control had held on to thinned all the way out. He was seeing red now. The person he was staring at was not Beatrice, this person was his enemy, one he would find joy in killing. He marched towards her, the pure rage disclosed in each and every one of his steps. She staggered back. Jake, what you? You're scaring em. His hand roughly grasped around her neck, squeezing tight enough to stop her breath. She gasped as he lifted off her feet, her head rising even higher than his. Is it true? Is she really dead? No, I'm sorry. Answer my question. And don't lie to me. His claws withdrew, sinking past the skin of her neck, and she cried out, the tears in her eyes finally dripping down her cheeks. Her hands grabbed onto his, trying to get him to loosen his hold, but he didn't budge. Why? Yes. She's dead, and you believe after killing her, you wouldn't be dead too? Jake squeezed her throat tighter, lost in these emotions that were so new to him. He felt guilty, as if he was the cause, and he felt a tremendous amount of lugubriousness that kept feeding his rage. If Delilah was really dead, if she really did die, then what was the reason for his change? If only he'd listened to his heart, if he'd kept her by his side, then this wouldn't have happened, but then again, if she was really dead, why could he still feel the bond? And why did it still feel so strong? You're lying. No, she's alive. Jake twisted towards the sound of Garth's desperate voice. She isn't dead, she's alive. He stepped closer, reluctantly gripping Jake's arm that held Beatrice's neck. Let go, please. Jake dropped Beatrice, who started gasping for air immediately, blood dripping down the sides of her neck as she stared up at him in disbelief. What happened? Jake asked, referring to Garth. Garth held his head down, as though he was ashamed of himself. Beatrice did order me and some other men to kill her. However, I killed them before they could. Please, forgive her, spare her please, spare her. Jake stooped in front of Beatrice, who flinched back. Do you even deserve to be spared? Were you? She swallowed. Were you really going to kill me? I was, and I still would. I would kill you and then leave you to rot right where I picked you up at your uncle's house. You should thank the goddess she's still alive, because if she wasn't, then you'd be seeing the old Jake, and not the one trying to change for Delilah's sake. But mess up again, Beatrice, do it if you dare, and I'll catch you up so bad you would pray we never come across each other in your next life. He stood up, turning his back and continuing towards the borders. He heard her sobs, and he heard Garth trying to comfort her, but he'd be damned if he looked back. He had to go to Delilah, she needed him, he just knew it. Jake got to the Silver Moon Pack within the span of 2 days. It was still dark out, but Jake knew dawn was just around the corner. He stepped up to the border where the Alpha's men were standing, guarding the territory he could destroy with just the snap of his fingers. Well, that was if he'd brought his men. He cleared his throat, holding his head far too high after the damage he'd done when he last visited. They had every right to be wary of him, he'd killed more than just a handful of their people, and now, his pride was failing at the fact that he came here to take a woman whom he knew would not under any circumstances go with him. Running his hand down his face, he sighed. He couldn't pick up a whiff of her scent, and yet, he knew this was the very first place she'd run to. Did they lock her up somewhere? Or was she perhaps just not here? He was worried, the pain in his heart had dulled, and the bond was now calm, but he wanted to see it for himself, to at least hear that she was fine. Hey, you, he gestured to the man in front, a Gamma Wolf it seemed. Tell your Alpha to come out here before my pleasant visit turns into an unpleasant one. He has a minute to get here before I kill you weaklings and just enter without permission. Despite knowing Jake could do exactly as he said, the Gamma in front did not flinch nor waver, instead, he straightened himself, the look in his eyes being one Jake could barely acknowledge, but it almost seemed sad. If you're looking for Delilah, she's not here. She left 2 nights ago after being rejected and banished by our Alpha. I don't know if she survived, but if she did, you're her mate, she needs your help, or perhaps she doesn't. If she'd been happy with you, she'd never have come back here, but please, look after her in my stead. She's in pain, and with nobody on her side, she'll eventually lose the courage to live. Jake tilted his head, his hands clenching by his sides. He rejected her and not the other way around? Does he not know that she's an Omega? What if he killed here? Where is he? He marched forward, but the man who spoke stopped him. You're angry, but you're also wasting time. Find her before it's too late, she probably needs you. A breath left Jake's lips, shaky and full of anger. He was angry, but it was true. If anything, he needed to find Delilah first. He, more than anyone, knew she was capable of hurting herself, especially when she saw no way out. He glared past the men and across the woods on Giovanni's land before turning and walking away. What that fool did was probably for the best anyway. He broke her, but now she was free of him, now she'd stop holding on to him, now she'd probably, finally look Jake's way. Crouching, he changed forms, his shiny, black fur coating his skin, and then he took off towards the rising of the sun. Throughout his travel, his senses were more alert, but they weren't what led him up north, it was his instincts, or rather the mate bond, that practically pulled him in that direction. He wasn't sure how he'd find her, but when the day turned back into night, and he found her laying against the grass, curled into a ball and crying, it somehow broke his heart. He was afraid to approach her, her sobs sounded so heart-wrenching that each one hurt him. Her face was hidden behind her hands, her knees folded all the way up to her chest. She was shivering beneath the cold wind in her human form, when she would have been warmer if she'd covered herself in the furs of her wolf. Jake stepped out from behind the bushes, him too changing into his human form. She probably couldn't see him, but he knew she knew he was here. One step at a time, he approached her, inhaling deeply to digest her calming scent. It was something he could never get enough of. Her scent was like a drug, and he was irreversibly addicted to it, that in her beauty, she, Delilah Felon, was his drug. She became the light in his darkness, and she'd shone so bright that he was unable to see anything but her light. Many times, he longed to grasp that light, but it always burned him. Was she a bit warmer now? Would she open up to him? He kneeled in front of her, something he'd never done, and would never do for anyone else. Delilah, are you okay? She didn't answer immediately, she didn't answer at all. Delilah, no, she sobbed out. I'm not okay. I left thinking everything would get better, but it only got worse. Finding out that my sister killed my mom because of me is not okay, and finding out that Alpha Giovanni only ever chose me because a stupid love portion forced him to do so is not okay. Nothing in my life is okay, so how am I supposed to be okay? I'm sorry all of that happened to you, it must have been a lot to take in. I know how it feels to lose someone as close as your mother, but why, but what? She finally removed her hand away from her face, staring in his direction. Her eyes were swollen and red just as they were the night he'd kidnapped her. If you came here to finish me off because your gamma didn't, please do. I'm tired now, tired of praying to the goddess for help, tired of being sorry and tired of being pitiful. So go ahead, don't come here and act like you care about me or my dead mother. Garth told me about what you did, and I'm glad. If he hadn't, I'd have run back to you, and I'd have looked like a fool. What are you talking about? What did I do? What did Garth tell you? Nothing you don't already know. Delilah. Jake clenched his jaws. He was trying to hold himself back, to be patient, gentle. I wouldn't have asked if I knew. I'm not afraid to own up to my crimes. If I did something, then I did it. Why hide it? Now what did he tell you? Everything. He reminded me of who you really are. Even after confessing that you liked me, even after setting me free, she rubbed her eyes, and he wanted to grab her hand, to stop her from hurting herself, but he held back. One wanted to trust you, I almost did. You said you'd change for me, you said you'd treat me better, and yet, you sent someone to kill me. I didn't. What are you? I knew it from the start, I'm not capable of being loved, my sister hates me, and the man I betrayed her for hates me too. The pack that had been on my side now whispers words of hate behind my back, even though they know I can hear, and if my father ever remembers all I did, he hate me too. You're no different, you want me dead just as much as they do. She smiled. Well, I guess luck's on your side because I want me dead too, so do it, do what you came here to do, kill me. I'm not going to kill you, Delilah. No, I want you to, do it. Can't anymore. Jake grabbed onto the hand that had been irritating him, the one she had been rubbing her eyes with. I'm not going to kill you, so pull yourself together. I kept my word, I didn't send anybody after you, Beatrice did. I don't know why Garth lied to you, and I don't care, but pull yourself together, Delilah. Seeing you like this is breaking my heart. I know you're hurt, I know you're in pain, and I know you feel like you have no one, but I came all the way here for you, Didn't I? You don't need anybody to love you, but me. No, I. Her eyes tore away from his, her tears soaking her cheeks. Goddess, she was beautiful, but he hated seeing her like this. He'd missed these brown eyes so much, but now that he was looking in them, he missed them even more. They weren't the eyes he knew, these eyes were sad and not courageous, these eyes weren't full of fight, they were the eyes of someone who'd given up. I don't think. Use SHHH, just come here. Using the hand he held, he pulled her up and she fell against his chest. Let me hold you like you held me when I cried. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.